I think for me, probably the highlight of every year is our annual conference that we do. The educational opportunities are endless for those kind of things, but it's also the opportunity to network with your peers. And for me, the most fun thing has been able to meet people from other associations, other walks of life, and get to understand their issues, and they understand my issues, and it's just been very rewarding for me and very fulfilling to me to be able to meet those folks. Well, I have the very big blessing of being the president during the 50th anniversary. So it's almost an easy slam dunk already because of that. What I tried to do was build on that and use that momentum to put us forward a few more years in terms of trying to grow our membership, in terms of trying to make sure we're continuing education, providing continuing education credits out there, making sure that the association world is recognized for all of that it does in the charitable arena in the state of Oklahoma, trying to really shine a bright light on associations and association work. And, you know, things like this where we're trying to at least capture some of our history and some of our past and archive that. We honor those people who came before us by trying to make our association better. As the Association of Associations, you know, it's up to us to make sure that we have a vibrant, growing operation that provides true meaning to its members. So it's been a blessing for me to be here during this 50th anniversary. Like I say, it's pretty much a slam dunk when you get to that 50th and you get to celebrate that. But if we can build on that, and I think that's really been the key focus of our board of directors, is how do we take this milestone and turn it into something really good for this association. The first one comes from Community Bankers Association of Oklahoma. Craig Buford, he was previously on the board. He's the one that called and said, Scott, you need to become a part of this. And so he's the one that introduced me to the whole OSAE concept. Went to the first meeting and I said, Craig, you're exactly right. I do need to be a part of this. Because it's easy to be kind of on an island by yourself, running your own association, and lose track of what else is going on in the world. So this gave me that opportunity to figure out, you know, what's the medical community doing? What's the banking community doing? What's what are all the other organizations doing? What best practices can I take from them and steal and use in my association to make it better? So Craig's one of those that comes to mind. Of course, Greta Stewart, I got to serve on the board with her while she was president. Just a class act. And that's one thing that I've really learned out of this, whether it be Tawny Phelan, Sherry Penner, the folks that have served in leadership roles have been class acts, and they've been there not for themselves, but what they could do for the association. And I've really learned a great deal from them as I've gone through this leadership process. I think the need is more profound now than it was in the past. I think the issues are more significant now from a couple of standpoints. One, purely from a legal standpoint. The responsibilities of nonprofits and associations that are imposed by the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, are much greater than they used to be. So there's a new dimension to association management. That's making sure that you have everything in place to make sure that you're compliant with federal and state law. So from that perspective, it's absolutely, in my opinion, more relevant than it was before. Now, from the other perspective of people just having the opportunity to coalesce around a common goal and people have an opportunity to see what other people are doing, that was relevant then, that continues to be relevant today, and that will probably be the one thing that pulls this organization forward into the next 50 years is that opportunity to visit with your colleagues, understand what's going on in the world, and make sure that you're adopting all those best practices for the association that you represent for a living. Well, for me, representing the beef industry, about 6,000 producers, it's that opportunity to know people from across the state. And I know some really fantastic ranchers, and they've become close personal friends of mine. That's been very self-rewarding to me to have that opportunity to get to know those folks. The other thing that I really think is important about association management, because we have a staff, not everyone does, but we have a staff of 8, and being able to use the professional development tools offered by OSAE with my staff members to improve our membership retention, to improve all the things that we do is critically important. So for me, as far as what's been most beneficial about being in the association business, it's been about getting to know the people that I represent, those 6,000 ranchers, working with the committees, doing the charity work. We have a great event called Range Roundup, which is an event we do every summer at the State Fair Arena. Being able to pull together all these ranches, and we don't pay them anything to come in together to do this, but they do come in, they share their resources, and we raise thousands of dollars for Children's Miracle Network and children's medical research. That just is so important to me, and I think it's something that has been really rewarding to see as we pass those checks off to that charity. It's just our association, we call it Cowboys Helping Kids, and these are guys that will donate their time, their money, their horses, their resources to help those two charities, and that's been very rewarding. If you're contemplating a career in association management, I truly believe that you better approach this from a servant's perspective. You have to approach this from a perspective of trying to help other people. And so some say, you just got to be a giver. But I really think in association management, you have to have a mindset that allows you to trust the men and women that have been elected on your board. You've got to be able to respect what they say. You have to have the best interest of whatever entity it is you're representing. I truly believe if you want to be successful, you have to be passionate about it. It wasn't hard for me. I was raised on a ranch. So to be able to represent ranchers, just a life dream job for me, and get to meet them. But I really think anybody in this kind of a business needs to have that servant's heart and that desire to serve other people above self, and the knowledge and the understanding that the people that have been elected to represent the membership are very smart, very intellectual, and make wise decisions as long as you give them the right information. So to me, it's been a very rewarding profession, not only financially, but certainly from just the opportunity to work with people of like mind with like goals has been an incredible opportunity. I think that it needs to continue to do several things that are already built in. It needs to continue to focus on its strategic plan and make sure that it's relevant going forward. It needs to be more aware of what's happening at the federal and state legislative levels than perhaps anyone else, so that they can lead and offer those resources back to the associations that they represent. So they have to be in tune, they have to be in touch if they want to be relevant, and I think they will be going forward 50 years as long as they continue to focus on the reason for their existence, and that is to bring people of like mind together in the association world and to make those associations better, and to put in those best practices, to put in those accounting practices, to establish those kind of bylaws and governance things that will ensure continued success of nonprofits and associations. So I really think to be relevant, it's got to be a leader, it's got to be intuitive, it's got to be taking a look globally at what's happening. It's got to be a trendsetter, not a porch setter, and it's got to be ready to step up and do the things that need to be done. That includes providing CAE education materials. That includes providing 50 hours of continuing education a year. That includes the member mixers and all those things associated with that. So I think OSAE is poised for a great another 50 years, and I think with the leadership that we see coming up, we will see success for this organization. Oklahoma is very rich in associations. There are so many associations out there, it's almost innumerable. There needs to be an entity that represents them. There needs to be an entity that brings them together and to ensure their future success. So relevance is one of those things. I think they just need to be cognizant of what's going on in the community. They need to be leaders. They need to put everything that they possibly can on the table as far as resources to their membership. They will be relevant. I absolutely would. I have thoroughly enjoyed association work. I've been involved in association work basically after my first job out of college. I love working with boards of directors. I love the interchange of information, ideas, and the energy. When you get 2 or 3 people centered around one idea, the energy that can be created from the good ideas, that to me is fun. That to me is rewarding. So absolutely, if I had it all to do over again, would I go through the association route? I absolutely would. I love working with boards of directors, executive committees, standing committees. Does everybody love that? Probably not. It does take a certain skill set. It does take a certain mentality, I suppose. But if I had it all to do over again, I absolutely would go down this path. I have 4 children. I've advised all of them to think about being in the association world in some form or fashion. It doesn't have to be the beef industry. It could be the medical community. It could be the dental community. It could be the real estate community. Whatever community it is has an association. That's one thing I learned, Don, out of this whole thing. I knew there were associations out there. Cattle Association, medical, those teaching associations. I had no earthly idea that for any vocation that is out there, there is an association that represents it. And so with that thought in mind, I think there's a possibility for endless careers for young people. I would suggest young people that if they're thinking about going into association management, learn how to write, learn how to balance a budget, learn how to conduct a business, learn what best practices are, learn to trust your boards, and work yourself through that process so that you can manage an association. It's extremely rewarding.